special partnership and brought to you by Future Leader Now.
My mind always looks at how we could do something locally versus, I don't know, just working hard here it seems like in the prairies we work hard. That's it.
We
Right?
work hard in it.
Yeah.
We seem to spin our wheels, right? And just
Yeah.
keep doing the same thing and the same thing and the same thing over and over again. Like one thing that that's coming up is in the past it was disruption, like the idea that things are changing, maybe because of new technology and just trying to keep up with that change. But now I think that idea is almost gone. We've almost moved in this time frame to radical uncertainty, where
Yeah.
we're just trying to figure out the next week, the next few months, and how it's all going to come together. And everyone's taking it differently.
But I do there's one thing that is well, there's several things, but one thing that's extremely certain is we need to eat.
Well, like that's what I want to get into with you a little bit
Food.
in terms of just larger scale projects. Like there's a quote here I was going to read from the Premier, Jason Kenney, and he said that this is the most significant and disruptive economic downturn in generations. It'll get worse before it gets better. The government of Alberta will do everything in its power to protect jobs and job creators. The council announced today, chaired by Dr. Jack Mintz, that will provide advice and policy recommendations on how to best confront this unprecedented economic crisis and recover from it in the long term. This will include strategies to accelerate economic diversification. And this idea of economic diversification is something that I think everyone is looking at to help their economy recover, but particularly in Alberta. And we always kind of fiddle around with this idea and talk about diversification, but we never kind of move into how. So I know that you put forward a number of ideas to look at, how could we look at large scale projects? How could we think differently? How could we do things differently? Let's maybe explore those a little bit.
Yeah, no, that gets me excited, Scotty. I love talking about that stuff. So, I look at, in the past, so heavily oil and gas economy, we're going, how do we diversify it? Well, the world is going to technology. We need to have more software companies or, medical. And that's good. We need to push those. But I want to look at business 101, entrepreneurship. You go, what are your competitive advantages as a people, as a geography, and do we have a competitive advantage in medicine? I don't know how. We could build one slowly over time, I suppose, by putting dollars into research and things like that. Do we have a competitive advantage in software? Waterloo in Canada has developed a hub of software and research and schooling. Silicon Valley, obviously, that comes up every time. So our competitive advantage, when I've looked at it, really at a fundamental level in Alberta, here in the prairies, is we have energy so bountiful. We've got land like crazy, and we have lots of water. Throughout Canada generally has lots of water. And, we've got the ability to grow our population. We've proven that. We've been the fastest growing jurisdiction in Canada over the last 40 years by a long way. Have beat every other province in population growth. And so if we look at those advantages, what can you do with those advantages? Well, water, land, and energy. I don't know, diversifying. What about food? We import so much food into Canada and into Alberta. Can we turn that energy into food?
Mm-hmm. And
that really gets me excited, because we don't have to build a pipeline to ship that energy. And we use it right here. We use that energy right here. And when I look at the energy, and we've all traveled into warm climates. Let's say Las Vegas in summer, 40 degrees Celsius, and you can stand outside those hotels in those covered like open areas, and they're blasting refrigerated air on you, and I'm going, that gas for the most part used to come out of Canada. Now, of course, the US has a lot of its own gas production, but we would, ship so much gas down into the US to cool themselves, and we couldn't even use it here to heat ourselves. So I'm going, why don't we heat our food growing economy with the energy that we have here? And that comes back to a real passion of mine is greenhouses. Let's
Now,
build greenhouses here. Let's build them by the square kilometer and produce food of every imaginable type.